remembering that pretty correctly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one, and then one in China had a little bit of light clouds, cirrus clouds, so much so that we didn't need these glasses. We actually could look up in the sky and see the encroaching moon as if we had had glasses on. It was absolutely brilliant. It was exactly the viscosity, the density of what was necessary to filter your eyes so that you wouldn't hurt yourself. You've seen the sun, where you've looked up in clouds, and you see this perfect white ball in the sky. It was exactly what was happening that day in China. So that was a brilliant one. So I've been very lucky. I'm actually listed as like 98% clear skies, and that's always the roll of the dice. I mean, I've never had a complete total. When I was in China, Shanghai, which was not very far from us, 400 miles, 300 miles away, was the kind of storm we had here 2 days ago. I mean, complete blackout with just dumping rain. No one could even go outside. There was no chance to see anything. And the difference between the storm darkness and totality darkness was almost nothing. I mean, they got nothing over there. But where we were, we had a, just an absolute great time. Yeah, that was a mosquito paradise too. That was a fun one in China. But we were very high up next to this temple, and all of a sudden the lights from the towns would go on below us, and car lights would come on, and street lights would come on. And that was really, really interesting to see, because that really got dark. The darker ones are the ones that are the longer ones. So 7-minute eclipses are the ones that get really dead black, because you're way inside that shadow which goes all the way out to the horizons. This one we saw Venus right up at zenith. So Mercury, Venus, Regulus, the planet, and Mars were up there, and we saw Venus just as bright as could be. And it was just great. Yes?
Judith and I watched a wonderful series called Genius, which just blew both of us away. This was
Einstein.
Einstein, of course. And it happens to be Series 6, remember which one it was. We're just before the eclipse. It was like a week before the eclipse, we watched this one series, number 6. And it was about Einstein's fervor to get to the first eclipse in his life, while he was, as a scientist, when he really needed to get there. And he was so impassioned about it, so it was so important to him that he needed to get these people, and it was right just as World War I was starting. So he literally sent his people right into Germany, where they were going to see this eclipse. Wasn't it Germany or was it Austria? I think it was Austria.
I think
Whatever
it was
he was
Austria.
doing, wherever they were going, they ended up. It was a disaster.
Russia, because he was in Germany.
He was in Germany, and he was sending it to
Russia.
Russia.
Because he was trying to prove that light bends.
That's right. So here's the
That's right.
question. He did get to a second one before he died, but his desire to get, it was unbelievable how important it was to him to be able to get. I'm wondering if in all these trips that you've taken, there have been any kind of group of people, or maybe one or two singled out, who actually were coming to the eclipse for something extraordinary that they were trying to find out. Was there anything?
Every eclipse has scientists that study the sun's corona because of the eclipse. You can phony it by putting some kind of a black dot in a telescope to create some semblance of what it's like, but it doesn't work. And so they come to study the solar corona, prominences, these flames, if you will, these giant storms that come off the surface, that you can see these pink ones, plasma, exactly right, and then the fact that light bends. And for Einstein it was critical because he was building an entire theory, this theory of relativity, and it was built around gravity, which we knew nothing about, and whether light was actually influenced by the gravitational pull, which we now know is absolutely the truth. That gravity does influence light, and light is drawn to gravity, by gravity, and bent. So yeah, so there's scientists always that don't go there because it's a lovely thing to see, and you can sit there and get replugged in and have another 2 good years of your life until the next one comes around. But they're there to study science. The one thing that I did not do when I was doing my talk, and then I'll conclude with this, was try to describe specifically what the eclipse was going to do to people emotionally. And when you look at our videos, all you hear are people chirping and yelping in the background. And it's, you know, it's an uncontrollable thing. And I want, Russell, come here for 1 sec, because he does a beautiful job of talking. I mean, when I said to him, come on up, look at this eclipse, it's like, sure, yeah, I've seen eclipses, you see pictures of eclipses and that kind of thing. But you're out there, and it's 30 seconds to go, and the sky goes from blue to cobalt blue to black. And this thing dumps in, and you now are enveloped in the shadow. And the responses are insane.
I want to begin by saying I've known this guy for just a few 23 or 24 years. And I always thought it was nuts. I mean, who goes around the world to look at eclipses? I mean, what's the point of this? Couldn't really understand it. I had no desire to go. But when Michael, I've always said this, when Michael says, do you want to go do something, without hesitation, the answer is always yes, like Leslie, like Vicky, like this entire amazing family that has become my second family. You never say no, you never question, you just go. Because however awesome you think it might be, it's 10 times more awesome. And so I went, you know, not because I wanted to go, particularly because I was interested in the eclipses, but because if Michael said, you're invited to go, I'm going to go. So I went there without any particular expectations, but it was a group of 60 some odd of the most eclectic, awesome people, of which probably 80% I knew. A few of the strange ones, like from Germany, I didn't, but I got to know real quick. We had people from England and from Germany and from Russia and from all over. So it was just an amazing experience. And so Michael did a really good job of kind of giving us a little bit of what to expect, but he also left some of the best parts out so that we could experience it. And the one thing he told me, and I'm a photographer from way back, but he said, you know, don't even try to take pictures of this thing. Just enjoy the moment. Don't get so caught up in trying to capture pictures. There'll be plenty of great shots that you can always find, but enjoy it. Just enjoy it. And so around 10:30 in the morning, you know, we put on our glasses and we could start to see the moon just starting to encroach over the sun. And we're watching this happen, which was really remarkable to see this with your own eyes, right, through these eclipse glasses that Michael got us.
And it's 3, 2, 1, got it! I mean, NASA has it down so precisely to the 100th of a second that we could literally do a countdown, and then that's exciting because it's like, wow, how did anybody know this would happen?
So, you know, we're all watching, and there's just an excitement like you can't describe, this enthusiasm. As, you know, 10:30 becomes 11, becomes 11:30, becomes 12, and totality is at about 12:30, 12:15. You know, so as it starts to get to that point, now we're really starting to see, but more importantly for me was feel the eclipse. And what I mean by that was a temperature drop. So I was in a t-shirt, and we all were, you know, and all of a sudden we're all running for sweatshirts.
74 degrees.
Then we're running for jackets. And, you know, it had to have been a 15 to 20 degree temperature jump. We're at 9,200 feet above sea level, we're in Wyoming. And all of a sudden, it's getting cold. And that was the one thing. And as that's happening, it's getting darker and darker. And now the sky's starting to look like it's dawn. You know, in the evening, it's you know, it starts to get dark. You see the oranges, the purples coming out in the sky. You're seeing the change of colors, and you're starting to feel like this is 12 o'clock noon. You know, it's 12:30, but it's like it's acting like it's, you know, it's the evening. And all of a sudden, total darkness, like Michael said, you can see if he's got the video, people are yelping and screaming and cheering, and just the elation and the excitement over this natural phenomenon. And I was telling Leslie today, you know, one of the things that was interesting to me about that, we did a lot of sharing, you know, a lot of us, because for many of us, it was truly a life-changing event. And the thing was, you know, everything in life you seem to go to, there's this side and that side. So it's a sports team, I'm cheering when the Philadelphia Eagles win, right? But somebody else is upset when their team lost. And when it's politics, one group is happy when one wins, the other group is upset. This was a world event where everybody was happy. There was no losers in this. It was all winners. And everybody, for a moment in this world with all the hatred and all the natural disasters and all the things we've been facing, you know, and particularly recently, you know, this was a moment we could all just share in the joy of this natural phenomenon, and that was incredible. And I will say this in closing, you know, remarkable guy. Michael, I mean, spent a year to put this trip together, spent a year, you know, for the pleasure, not of him, but of 60 and more people. And not only that, and I don't even think I told you this, Michael sent glasses all around to everybody. You had them. My friends in New Jersey, he sent me several, a bunch, and said, give them to our friends in Jersey. He's got friends there. They're my friends that we've known for years. And one pair of those glasses, Scarpas, 25 people used them. They all gathered at the restaurant to watch Eclipse, and I don't know about the others. But, you know, that just, you know, that influence of Michael just went, you know, far beyond just the group of us in Wyoming. But it was truly a life-changing experience. What I was going to say in closing was that I know that out of that group, Michael doesn't like this, but there's an awful lot of converts that want to go to the next Eclipse. Michael's not going to know. But I can tell you that the enthusiasm was, you've seen one, and I think, again, for many of us, you know, like, we got it, you know, it's like, okay, we want to do this. And it really was a remarkable experience, and thanks to Michael for making it happen, and tremendous amount of work that was put into it.
Thanks for the Commodore getting my RVs back there.
It was great. It was a team effort.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And when's the next one? What's the date?
July 2,
Next year.
19.
Oh, 19.
20 is Argentina, 21 is
But not next year.
Antarctica. Not next year.
Okay.
No, they're odd.
Okay.
One time they miss a year or 2 years, and then there's 3 together, and then sometimes there's 2 together.
Okay.
Yeah,
July 2nd.
yeah.
2019.
Right? 96. When I'm 96, I'm going. Yes.
What did you use to make the glasses? What kind of a lens?
So I did this through a company that I actually flew down to Tennessee to meet with them in their facility and see what they used, and they're called American Optics, paper optics, and they're the biggest in the world. They're the ones that NASA selects, and you know, I needed to have the right ones and the best ones, and have them nicely printed up. And my niece, Karen, was the one who put them all together. Thank you, Leslie, for having all of us here.
I know. One of the things that I thought was so much fun about his glasses was that we just gotten a bunch of them, and I kept handing them out to people when they came over, because there were bunches of them, and I kept thinking, well, who's going to go around here? I mean, I was one of the family members that didn't go. So I'm going, okay, I got to do something with these glasses, and there were like, well, how many? I don't know, Dina.
You have like 6 or 7 pairs.
Yeah, 6 or 7, maybe more than that. There might have been about 8 or 9 left. So I kept thinking, okay, don't worry about it. So this is how I think anyhow, and the way I do things, don't worry, it's going to work out okay. I'm going to unfold. It'll surprise me in the end, but I'm going to be somewhere where I'm going to see whatever there is to see, which is 65%, which is not bad. And suddenly I get this email from my dear friend Nancy Peterson, who lives in Devon, England. And she was here last year. She was here at our house concert when she was here. She has this adorable children that I've grown up with since they've been little babies. And I was so excited because their parents have this little shanty kind of wonderful beach house on Salisbury Beach. And they stay there about a week or 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever every summer. They were coming right at that time, and their brother Paul was coming from New York, and their whole family was going to be there, his sister Fran. I mean, they've got this really big group, and it's like another family for me. So I get a call from Nancy, Leslie, we're here. It's the Paulina English, we're here, we're going to be on the beach. We want you. I went, oh my God. So I got a hold of Paul. I said, Paul, you've got to tell everybody that I have glasses for you all. I'm coming out. And he went, I can't believe you just said that. I've been going everywhere for glasses. I wanted the kids to be able to experience this, whatever. So I said, no, I'm coming, I'm bringing the glasses. So I got out there. Was that fun? I mean, it was so great. It was so great. But the kids, these young people on the beach, it's just like what Russell was just saying, these young guys on the beach, when they come up.
Well, one of them looked at it and he went, is that it? I'm like, don't you think that's amazing? He's like, well, I thought it would be more something. And then the other kid he was with looked at it and went, wow, that's cool. And then they went back, and then they came when it was about 65%. They came back to take another look. And the one who was really skeptical at first, he goes, wow, that is pretty cool. So he finally
They were
got
trying
it.
to be like,
There's just no comparison
It's-
between a partial and a
I,
total.
that's,
They're,
I
they're
know, I know.
completely different
Yeah.
things.
But,
And
but still,
we
the
had
idea, you know.
97% coverage in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah,
That was 55,000 times brighter
yeah,
than Total.
yeah, yeah.
97%.
So when was the last total eclipse in this area? Do you know, happen to know?
I don't,
In the
It was
Northeast, when you say this
700
area?
years ago,
Yeah.
something like that.
700?
Wow.
yeah.
And the next one will actually go up through part of New York. If it goes through Buffalo.
Which will be great.
That's the total will go through New York.
Good time to buy real estate there.
2024.
Yeah, or at least
24.
for a store or something.
Book a motel.
Those places.
Parking. Got a hotel,
But
right?
it was
Buy a
odd that-
hotel.
Airbnb.
Buy a hotel and a
So
parking
those
lot.
glasses are, no one could find glasses. I mean, I work in a
No,
courthouse.
you couldn't find it.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, maybe Martin Kelly, so I went to the hardware store.
John, you should have
And then I
called
went
me.
to CVS, and I thought, oh, somebody in the courthouse will have them, we'll just pass them around. But, you know, I asked a lot of places, they didn't have them. I wasn't, because on the news it kept saying, just make sure you pick up, they're cheap, they're cardboard, and, you know. And then when the day came, I was like asking around the courthouse, so does someone here have glasses? And no one in the whole courthouse
And I
had
didn't give you
the glasses, and then of course when it was happening, people are outside, and we all heard, don't look at, you know, and this probation officer said, well, is it worse when the eclipse is, no, it's not worse, it's just you don't want to look at the sun ever, and you're gonna be tempted to try to see something, but you won't see anything because any little sliver of the sun is gonna blind you,
Oh,
you know. So there was all this confusion over, well, can you look at it when it's almost, no, you'll never, I mean, you can never look at any sunlight whatsoever. That's why the total is so important, because it totally blocks it, and then you
Yeah.
can look, you know. There's no
There's a
sun
lot of confusion
available,
about that.
but people, and you never want to look at the sun, and they're like, well, but if it's covered up. No, well, it's not really covered up, I mean, it's like,
You
it's
can't
like
look,
still,
in
a
that
pinhole of
last,
sunlight is gonna blind you.
that's right, in that last phase, so the lunar surface, the edge of the moon, of course, is not smooth, right? It's not a billiard ball. It's got valleys and peaks, and so in there is that last little valley that sunlight comes through before it completely covers the sun. And that's called the diamond ring effect, or Bailey's beads, where there's a number of these little glowy areas where it's that low point. You can still, with 99.99% of the photosphere of the sun gone, you're still going like this, trying to look at the sun. It's not damaging at that point, but it's just not easy to look at because it's so bright. Yeah, it's crazy.
I think in the old days, like when I was very little, did they used to do this, get smoked glass?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I just remember my dad,
Yep.
it must have been on a solar eclipse. I don't know if that was proper or good to do, but you made, I guess it was even with a candle, I don't know what it is, you blackened the
That's right,
glass.
that's right.
Yeah.
So that was one way to do it, and another way to do it was in the 70s, you could take floppy drives. And you could hold the media up. So you could break the floppy drive, take the media out, hold that up, and they work very well. They don't tell you about it because there could be because lots of floppy drives have these pinholes in them that are part of what turn it around. And if you just make a mistake and get one of those pinholes, then you're gonna hurt yourself. But yeah, that works too. What else?
We use negatives from camera film.
Yeah, that's right.
Negatives, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Negative.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
if they were black.
We have that strip where maybe before or after the
Right.
negative actually started,
Yeah.
just look through that.
Yeah.
Well,
But then there's sprockets, right? So you just gotta really be careful. All you have to do is drop one of the sprockets down and it's all of a sudden you're now hurt yourself.
And people use the suntan, they're plastic, and they have little small, they're for tanning glasses, they're not glasses, they're
Yeah.
like plastic things
Yeah.
with one little hole in them.
Yeah.
But when the other eclipse was in 75 or
79,
79,
yeah.
and those cardboard things were like kind of available, I mean, they were for sale, I mean, it wasn't impossible to find those. For this time around, for some reason, not in our time anyway, I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
anyone that found those
So when I
glasses.
went down to meet with these American optics people, paper optics, the guy's going, I'm gonna sell 100 million of these things. Because there's 350 million people in Canada, the United States, and in Mexico who need these glasses. Every single person is under eclipse. they're all looking at partial eclipse. There's only a tiny band, 24 million of them, that sit right there in totality, but the rest of everybody, including the people in totality, have to have eclipse classes. And, you know, I went to corporation after corporation. I went to Pepsi and said, own the eclipse. Put these things on every single Pepsi. They didn't get it. They had no idea. This thing isn't going to be big. Nobody's going to care about this. They had no vision for understanding how big this thing was going to be in this country. And it was CBS. I mean, Leslie queued up for me a TV show with, Marcel and I were watching this TV show of CBS, or NBC, did this 90-minute coverage tracking it going across the United States. You know, yeah, Anderson Cooper did this whole special, I mean, the special after special. No, they didn't get it. They didn't get it. They could have, yeah. Most of the stores in our area all had eclipse classes, but we have a very high kind of scientific community that lived there. And so they were going to all be tuned in and need to have
That
it.
coverage is really great, by the way. I mean, I was really impressed by how emotional people were. There was one, I don't remember which town, which area it was, but there was a video years ago. It was a guy crying because he saw a double rainbow. Not everyone saw that on
Yes.
YouTube. But there were people in that crowd that sounded just like that guy.
Right.
There was just this weeping kind of, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing that really, I mean, that's what really impressed me, because, I mean, we're just watching on TV, but the emotional response was very impressive.
We had two people that walked away from our group and just walked off into the meadow because they didn't want to be with anybody. They were so moved and so wrought by it that they just didn't want to be with anybody else. And they had to go settle down and just reconnect. You know, you can call it spiritual if you want. I mean, it's just, you know, it's a mechanical thing that's happening in the sky, but the way it impacts you can be extremely emotional or spiritual or whatever it is you want to make it. Yeah. I mean, just imagine the ancients being out there and all of a sudden the temperature started dropping and they don't know why, and then it starts getting black, and then all of a sudden the sun disappears and there's a hole in the sky. That's crazy stuff, right? I mean, you drop to your knees. They were calling that the
You have to
dragon.
wonder how many young virgins were sacrificed because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, we were going to do that. Who were we going to sacrifice?
Like with the people that drove all the way
There's
from
plenty
Canada
of
to
young
see-
virgins.
Oh, this is a great story. So we had some guys come down from Quebec, and they wandered in and they said, "What's going on here?" And I said, "You know, there's an eclipse going on." They discovered that day. They were on a trip. They were just traveling from Quebec. And that was it. And they arrived and it's like, why are all these people gathered here? Because there's a total eclipse of the sun and you happen to be right on center line? All right, let's go eat.
Wait, no, wait, we
What?
don't eat. No, sit down.
Or something.
No, we don't eat.
All right.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking you to wait, because I know you can always talk.
No,
And I know that
I
Russ
think
can
they
always
have
talk
to,
too.
they have to do a sound check.
We need to start,
Does it have to be done right now?
yes. It'll be
So
nice.
let's,
Why
You
don't
know
we
what's
move on
awesome
to
is
the
we
other?
got foods and nachos in here, and a great place for this would be in this awesome area over here.
he's beckoning us.
That's
Let's
good.
go.
Continue to talk.
Awesome. That
Well,
would
the
be
reason
great.
I'm saying that we
I
have to keep
appreciate
talking is because Lisa Penn just got here.
Oh,
Yeah. So,
Yay.
right?
hi.
Come on.
So,
How
right?
are you? Oh my
So
God.
that's what, okay? That's our
We'll
relative.
have to do this in private.
Yes.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah. The traffic is terrible. Yeah, the traffic is terrible. You know, our musicians are just called for the road.
Yeah.
The traffic is backed up all the way 2.5 hours from Boston up here.
Really?
Yeah.
This is almost why is that?
I guess everybody's heading north. I
It's
just,
still summer, baby. People
It's-
still going to the
that's true,
mountains. and
that's true. But
still
then also
partying.
there could be some people even from Florida that are driving as far as they can.
They haven't gone out in Florida yet.
They might be, yeah, they might not have gotten out yet. I'm gonna close this.
Ways to
It's gotten chilly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna close this, turn this off.
Stay by us.
That's what happens when you get an eclipse, it gets cold.
What's that?
That's what happens when you get an eclipse of the sun, it gets cold.